First of all, like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the algorithm. This is Jac Schaffer. Dear normies, fanboys, blue-pilled simps, why do you support this cancer? If you paid money to see Captain Marvel, then you're telling Hollywood that this is what you want. Let's compare two different types of films. The Black Widow Captain Marvel type versus the Sylvester Stallone Dolph Lundgren type. The Expendables. With the girl power films, you have 130-pound women beating a room full of 200-pound special forces guys. There's a scene where Black Widow takes out a bunch of guards while the fat guy from Swingers managed to take out one. Now, a woman can beat even a trained soldier if she has surprise on her side. It's not likely, but it is possible. But it's possible maybe once. The next soldier is going to have her in a headlock in about 60 seconds. I used to wrestle. You can take the best 140-pound wrestler. If he wrestles a 200-pound average wrestler, he's going to be in trouble. That's almost too much. Too much Jac Schaffer to take. Let's get someone a little bit better looking. Oh, who's this? Black Widow. But it's just a movie, whatever, okay, fair enough. When film directors or actors get on social media, oh no, wait, if you are supporting these movies, then maybe you deserve this image. That's all I'm saying. Maybe you do deserve this image. If you look up her on IMDb, there's like 3 listings, and they all suck. When film directors or actors get on social media and make retarded comments or say things like, I don't care about pleasing the fanboys, you have to take these with a grain of salt. They make these insulting comments just to virtue signal to the blue check marks. The reason the fanboys still go see the movie is because they know that talk is cheap. You can talk the feminist talking points, but investors want a return on their investment. They want to get butts in seats, and they want to sell Blu-rays. So the fanboys know that the movies aren't going to be too woke. The Ghostbusters 2016 or the few other girl power films are actually pretty rare. Nobody wants to lose money. So studios keep those woke films to a minimum. People went and saw Captain Marvel in spite of her retarded comments because it's a Marvel movie. They have a strong reputation. They know they're going to see a fun movie. And of course, Captain Marvel was nestled in between two of the biggest films in history. I suspect that had something to do with it, hitting $1 billion. I actually still haven't seen it. It's on Amazon Prime, so I will check it out soon. I have zero enthusiasm for the movie, though. I sort of doubt that the sequel will do as well. But Captain Marvel has emboldened the rah-rah feminism crowd, my vagina, and part of that rests on the sheep who went to see the film. But think of it this way. Compare Captain Marvel to Ghostbusters 2016. One made $1 billion, the other lost $200 million. Captain Marvel is from a successful... Get you in there. It's from a successful brand with a pedigree. People are willing to risk their $10. But Ghostbusters 2016 stars a bunch of fat, ugly, middle-aged chicks. The 200-pound black one got Milo kicked off Twitter. That's about all I knew about her at the time. And I think she also has nude photos out if you are curious and you want to go blind. The even fatter lead is famous for being a fat, unfunny comedian. People looked at these 4 schlubby women and kept their money in their pockets. The one good-looking chick is a lesbian. All 4 of them are as funny as cancer. Out of the half-dozen woke female remakes that have come out recently, I saw Ghostbusters 2016 because it was free, and I wanted to see how bad it was. Turns out it was pretty bad. However, it had potential, and actually feels like the director screwed up, not the actors. From interviews, he said that a lot of the scenes were off script. He let the actors just sort of ad-lib scenes, and it was horrible. Not everyone can ad-lib. In fact, most people cannot ad-lib at all. Some masterclass comedians could do it, but they're not these 4 girls were not masterclass comedians. They're just actors. They would have been fine on script, probably. Why the director thought it was funny is beyond me, but watch interviews with him. He's kind of an odd duck. Everyone on set watching the first ad-lib scene, they should have talked to the director and said, hey, this isn't working. We need to go back to the script. There is an interview where Bill Murray is in his best straight man voice, says that he only agreed to do the movie because the girls were very funny. When I saw that interview, I assumed he was serious. Then I saw the movie and knew that he was a master troll. Or maybe the girls were funny, and Feige just screwed things up so badly. I'm sure Black Widow will make $1 billion and will sneak in some woke vagina power feminism. The director, Jac Schaffer, with almost no credit to her name, and she's got to be 40, says that she wants more sympathetic villains, less glamorization of weapons, and stronger representation of marginalized voices. I wonder if she knows that Christians are the most persecuted people in the world. Are those, you think they'll be included in her next movie? I don't think so. Is she interested in uplifting the Irish, the Portuguese, Spanish, the Italians, the Greeks, or the Eastern Europeans? Somehow I doubt it. She would rather help a wealthy Chinese person than a poor Polish person, because that's just what these people do. Like I said, talk is cheap. If the film sucks, then it will still make a strong opening, but it will drop rapidly. And we shall see what we shall see. This article I think you've probably seen by now. Black Widow screenwriter doesn't want to please fans of the comics. Interesting marketing take there, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out for you. She's another of the PC crowd now clogging. Yeah. After Stan Lee's passing, things changed. Seems like he was the one holding them back. But again, like I said, all this talk is cheap. What this talk does is the blue check marks read this talk and they think, "Oh, okay, the film's woke. I'm going to give it I'll give it my thumbs up, even though I don't have to necessarily see it. Give it a thumbs up." But if it actually is woke, then it'll perform as well as Ghostbusters 2016, or it will. If it has a strong pedigree, it might do something like what Star Wars did. Star Wars had a very, very strong pedigree. It has the name Star Wars is a huge, huge name, and so is Marvel. Marvel Cinematic Universe is huge. So when The Force Awakens came out, it did $2 billion, kind of based on the name. Movie, oh yeah, it was soft. It was a disappointment. It wasn't great. The Rey was a Mary Sue. She was way, way overpowered, and they never explained how she got her powers. And honestly, J.J. Big Nose Abrams and Rian Fathead Johnson, they don't care about explaining how she got her powers. They don't give a shit. If you read interviews with Abrams explaining the Holdo maneuver, he just pulled it out of his butt. He has no interest in explaining it. It's completely illogical, and he just kind of seems to think, well, someone or somewhere will write it into an earlier book, and we'll just change canon that way, and we'll make it kind of fit, even though, any 12-year-old watching the film says, well, why doesn't everyone do this? Why does she have to stay on board? Why didn't she use a drone? Why didn't you remote pilot it? Why don't you use torpedoes that can go faster than light? Why didn't you do all these things? And Fathead just kind of says, just enjoy the movie. It's just a movie. Okay, yeah, it's just a movie. Then why didn't Leia grab a star from out of the sky and throw a star at her enemies? Oh, that'd be ridiculous. It'd be illogical. A star is massive. Well, yeah, but it's just as illogical as the plot hole you create with the Holdo maneuver, crashing the ship into another ship at light speed. If you could do that, people would do it. There's no weapon that only one side has. Not for long. So Schaffer has a bold vision for losing money. More sympathetic villains. Actually, that's a good thing, because it makes the villains multifaceted. Because truth be told, villains... Who's a good guy, who's a bad guy, who's a freedom fighter, who's a terrorist? Well, it depends on your point of view. And sometimes you can be both at once. So sympathetic villains means multifaceted villains. That's good. Less glamorization of weaponry. That's probably not great, because kind of what people go to see the movie for is the action, and the action is heavily involved with weapons. You know, aircraft carriers and vertical takeoff and landing fighter jets and all kind of bizarre weapons. So I don't think that's going to sell very well. Stronger representation of marginalized voices. If you're trying to sell, what does the people up on stage have to look like is they have to look like the audience. So if you want to see, you have a lot of African American actors, well, then you're expecting a lot of African Americans to see the film and less so other people to see the film. So you got to keep that in mind. But I mean, what you're saying is you're not interested in appealing to the broadest audience. Because if you were interested in appealing to the broadest audience, then your film would reflect your audience. Comic book movie fans prefer ultra-violent shootouts, 100% evil villains, and casts that look like they did a decade ago. Schaffer says, I'm totally not interested in adhering to comic canon that is discriminatory in any way or that violates my value systems. You're an NPC, you don't have any values. Universe stance makes Black Widow a target for sabotage. Okay, well, the Rotten Tomatoes thing, that was just a question about, for Captain Marvel, they said it was sabotage. No, it wasn't. They were just asking people who wants to see the movie. And the people who went to Rotten Tomatoes, most of them they did not want to see the movie. That's all it is. So those people don't want to see the movie. The movie did very, very well anyway, because people who see the movie they don't give a shit about Rotten Tomatoes. It's just Captain Marvel was the biggest budget Marvel movie. It came out one weekend. They went to see it. They don't think that deeply about it. So I still haven't seen it. I guess I could watch it today. But, I mean, I'm not even enthusiastic about seeing it. I was enthusiastic about seeing Black Widow because she's kind of a cool character. But after reading this, see, I take it with a grain of salt. I really don't believe she's going to make a film woke. Because you'd be throwing away hundreds of millions of dollars. Don't expect Schaffer to budge from her passion for positive change by even an inch. So why don't you just replace Black Widow with a Mexican woman? Mexicans are like 25-30% of the population in America. They are vastly underrepresented. African Americans are actually overrepresented on camera and in awards ceremonies, and Mexican Americans and other Latino, Hispanic Americans are underrepresented, and nobody says shit about it. Nobody cares about the Hispanic voices. When are we going to get our representation? That's what I want to know. Why aren't there more Guatemalan actors or Honduras actors or from South America? Hardly see any South American actors. The reason you don't see a whole lot of South American representation is because most of them have skin that is too light, so it doesn't buy them diversity points. But it's still, I mean, it's not fair. They're marginalized and oppressed, right? Just because you're from Colombia or something and you have light skin, you're still Colombian. Shouldn't you be represented on screen? Movie theaters, movie companies, and comic books, they go for the most woke they can, and right now that is African American and Muslim Americans, especially if they can put a hijab on somebody. So people like any Hispanic, Latino, Mexican, Central American, South American, they just kind of get shafted. They'll put Asians, like Chinese Americans, who are in the top economic class on screen more than South Americans who are not in the top economic class, because Chinese Americans look visually different. And, if you're from Argentina or something, you might not look different enough. Or you might look too different if you're 5'4", you might look just too different. It might not quite fit the role, but still, I mean, the Hispanic is a huge percentage of the American population, and it's growing. It's like 25-30% now, and in a few years, it's going to be the majority. So when are Hispanics going to be represented in films? I don't understand. In films and comics, I don't understand why they're not. But that's not where I want to put my energy. I'm not interested in the loud, sour grape voices. Whatever. Schaffer. Go check out her IMDb. And you'll really wonder how she got this movie with so little credit to her name. I just want to know what that mouth do. Okay, that's all I'm saying. What that mouth do, girl? It must do something good because you're in charge of a $200 million movie, and you're not at that level yet. And by all your interviews, you want to make a bad $200 million movie. So hell, I hope it loses money just to teach another lesson, a Ghostbusters 2016 lesson. But I know it won't. I know it'll make over $1 billion. If Captain Marvel did $1 billion, and Captain Marvel's kind of a nobody character. Nobody knows anything about Captain Marvel. Nobody cares. But Scarlett Johansson is, people like her, and they like the character, and they know the character. She's been in some of the biggest movies in history. So it should make $2 billion. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you next episode.